And we welcome you to another edition of the My Local Radio Sports Network Homefield Advantage, brought to you by Jake Major with the Bullock Agency of Wyoming and Bear Lake Memorial Hospital. I'm Elon Olive, joined by Aaron Poling and Anthony Colasuno. Boys, how you doing today?
Pretty good, especially after yesterday's show. Me and Anthony kind of patched things up after I was a little upset with him because I spent 2 minutes basically roasting him, and he tried to say something nice about me, and it's like, well, now you're making me look mean.
Overall, pretty good.
Pretty good day.
Okay, that's awesome. Well, we got a great show for you guys here today. It is the soccer preview show for the weekend. We've got Evanston soccer with 2 games. We got Lyman and Mountain View also in action. So let's kick it off with our friends in the Bridger Valley, starting with the Lyman Eagles, Anthony Colasuno.
Yeah, so this week, Lyman takes on Green River in what's going to be some really good matchups overall. On the boys' side, Lyman 1-8, Green River 5-1. So it's on paper, definitely looks like a lopsided matchup. But Lyman upset Powell earlier on this year, who was the third best team at the time in the Wild Preps coaches and rankings poll. So this Lyman team can definitely go out there and win the day. Davon Shear and Cash Platts have been huge for the Eagles so far.
Yeah, it really kind of does feel like a lot of the tension in the Bridger Valley when it comes to soccer has been paid to that Mountain View team. But Lyman, they do something every once in a while, just kind of remind you, hey, we're not going anywhere either.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And looking at the girls' side of things, they'll play Green River at 4 p.m. Kickoff times 2 and 4 p.m. tomorrow. Boys will be first. But the girls' game, this is going to be a classic, as right now, Green River, Mountain View, and Lyman are all tied for 4th for that last spot if state started today. So, yes, so tomorrow and overall this weekend, these 3 teams are going to be watching each other play because of the fact 3 points this weekend could mean, hypothetically, the state tournament started next week.
Yeah,
you would have that final seed.
No, and this is what the season should come down to, man. I'm excited for it. And 3 teams battling it out. Unfortunately for you guys, it's the 2 of the Bridger Valley teams. So maybe one of them won't make it.
Is it really an unfortunately? Because I feel like those teams
for
just
Anthony, because Anthony's getting pulled back and forth.
Exactly, yeah.
But I feel like in the Bridger Valley, those teams just kind of live for these moments where it's like let's get one thing straight. They aren't bitter rivals. They're your family. I mean, you got a cousin that probably goes to Mountain View if you're from Lyman and vice versa. But they do kind of really enjoy those situations where they can kind of serve spoiler to each other. I mean, how many times have we seen Mountain View and Lyman play each other for a state championship?
Playing times.
Yeah. So it's one of those deals where I think I don't think they'd have it any other way, to be honest.
Exactly. And for Lyman this week, for the girls' side, it's going to be keying in on a lot of getting the ball to Eliza Clegg and Carly Sabie. In my opinion, those 2 are some of the fastest attackers in the 3A region. And Sabie has a shot on her that is so powerful and fast that if she can get the accuracy down just a pinpoint every single time that ball is going in the back of the net.
And she's had that shot for forever, too.
Yes.
Like, she has been a mainstay with this Lady Eagle squad on the soccer pitch for the last few years. I mean, she's fast. She's got endurance. She's proven that in the cross-country seasons. And it's going to be really kind of fun to kind of see her as a senior kind of in these big moments, see what she does.
Well, and she's a junior. She's going to be returning back next year.
Really? She's only a junior?
Yes.
Man, she's been around longer.
And she has 10 goals in the season in 9 games. So she's averaging about a goal per game.
So take us through what happened last time between Lyman and Green River, just because I do think it's kind of something that, you know, is in the back of your head as a team player going, is that you had to go to Green River last time and what the results were, just so that we can kind of set the stage, because huge matchups this weekend. Absolutely. And to my point that I was making earlier, like, this is what you live for.
Yeah.
As an athlete, wouldn't you want would you want it any other way? You get an opportunity to play a couple of games to try to make state. It's in your hands. You hold your own fate in your hands, because if you win out, there's a good chance that you're going to make the state tournament. So for all these athletes, man, this is an exciting time.
Well, on top of that, if you win out, there's a good chance you might even get out of that number 4 spot.
Yeah, that's true too.
You could be. I mean, we're still early enough in the season where it's not like we need to win this game just to make it. You still have chances to kind of get into a much more advantageous position. I don't know about you. I would much rather be the 2 or 3 instead of the 4.
Yeah, I mean beggars can't be choosers sometimes.
But what I'm saying is,
I got you. It makes sense.
It's early enough in the season that there's still time.
Yeah.
If you can get on a roll here and win it, and like you said, win out. If you win out, you might not be looking at just squeaking in as the number 4. You could be looking at the 3, maybe even the 2, depending on how some things shake out.
Yeah, it kind of feels like the end of the season. So over in Evanston today, we're doing senior night, if you can believe it.
Oh, yeah.
And it does. Like, it's hard to remember that we are still only halfway through the year, which is it's great news for those teams trying to chase that final spot. But 3 teams all around that 4th spot finish. It's going to be an exciting finish to the season.
And we'll talk more about that Evanston game later, because this game today is huge.
Yes, it is.
We'll again, we'll talk about that later. Let's stay with the Lyman Eagles.
Dating back to, this is according to Max Preps, right now the girls 0-3 all-time versus Green River, so not the best, but they have been known to defy the odds in the first matchup of the year versus the Mountain View Lady Buffaloes. All time, they were 0-6. They won out. They won 3-2. So overall, records-wise, the Lady Eagles say that doesn't matter to us. We're going to go and fight out every single day and go out there and win.
Yeah, with the kind of a young program that the Lyman Eagles have in the sense of soccer programs throughout the history of the state. That's one of the big hurdles is getting that first win over certain teams. Just getting that first win over Green River, getting that first win over Mountain View this year. Those are big hurdles that if you can climb them, that's when your program really starts to take off and starts to hit the ground running.
Exactly. And switching to the boys' side, they're also 0-3 all-time versus Green River. Last time was a 5-2 loss at the hands of the Wolves. And tomorrow's going to be a great matchup. It's going to be senior day as well for the Lyman Eagles. They have a little bit of a road stint up ahead due to some scheduling changes earlier on in the season. So senior night for the Eagles versus Green River. It's going to be a fun one. It's going to be an enjoyable one. Boys kick off at 2 p.m. Girls at 4 p.m., and which should be an amazing day for some high school soccer tomorrow.
Never underestimate a good senior night.
Yes.
Just because there's so many emotions, and those emotions get put into the game, and suddenly, you start those emotions, you start fast, you get off to a good start, and now you're up 1-0, get off to a good start. So for Lyman, if you can use those emotions of the players, the last time they'll play on their home field, if they can use those emotions and harness them right, they can put themselves in a good spot. 5-2 is not an insurmountable comeback on the boys' side at all. You can come back and win that game, especially at home.
Yeah. Absolutely. And just talking to some of these players and the bonds they've built with their teammates over the few years Wyoming has had high school soccer, it's insane just hearing all these fun stories that they have on road trips and just even at regular home games as well, and just the memories they've created.
Oh, yeah, of course. And senior night is one of my favorite nights. I'm sure we'll talk about this more when we get to the Evanston section, but it's one of my favorite nights on the calendar just because all of these seniors put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into these programs, and it's just nice that they take a minute to recognize them before their final home game, just thank them for all that they do. Some of these kids might not be the ones that lead you to glory trying to win a state title, but they could be the foundation, the building blocks around what could be a nice run next year.
Yeah.
I mean, the example I use is Rich High School last year. Their senior class, they finished as a 9 seed, but their senior class led the way, and they put a lot of really good foundations of the team that went to the state title game this year. So don't ever think that in a program that your years don't matter, because your year could be the one that starts to turn around.
Absolutely. We could see any of these teams break out for a state title run next year, and then all of a sudden it's not only the players on that current team, but it's the players before. It's for them. It's for the community. It's for the fans. It's for the parents that put in numerous hours into traveling, helping kids get to practice, feeding kids as well with team dinners. So there's just a lot of behind the scenes stuff that just makes senior night just more special.
Oh, yeah. Like I said, one of my favorite days of the calendar, no matter the sport. All of these kids have put a lot of time into these programs, and without those kids putting time into the programs don't exist.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll take a break here on Homefield Advantage, sponsored by Chick Major with the Bullock Agency of Wyoming and Bear Lake Memorial Hospital.
When you have an emergency, choose Bear Lake Memorial Hospital. Open 24/7, the professional emergency room staff is trained for trauma, medical, cardiac, pediatric, orthopedic, and obstetric emergencies. Bear Lake Memorial is a critical access level 3 trauma center, offering immediate access to radiology, lab services, surgery, and internal medicine consults. The ER teams are well-trained professionals who are ready to act. When you have an emergency, Bear Lake Memorial Hospital, the most caring hospital on earth.
Out here, we've always worked remote. Out here, stress usually refers to the pull on a rope. Where a stroll in the city is also a stroll in the great outdoors. Where work is a way of life, and life is good. Out here, the backyards are big, and the deals, they're even bigger. This is southwestern Wyoming, and it's where you can get the biggest deals on a vehicle you want with plenty of hometown hospitality. Heritage Auto, your hometown dealer with the biggest deals.
Whether it's for your home, your ranch, your equipment, or your business, when you need propane, count on the best. T7 Propane in Woodruff. The safe and professional team at T7 Propane offers quality product and the most responsive propane service in the area, so you can enjoy the affordability, reliability, and efficiency of propane. For heating, cooking, grilling, motor fuel, and more, count on the team at T7 for your personal or business propane needs. 435-793-4208.
At Reese Auto Service in Lyman, you will find highly skilled mechanics who will get the job done right the first time. They work on anything from light line jobs of tire alignments, suspension work, and oil changes to heavy line jobs of engine replacement, differentials, and all powertrain components. Make sure all your recreational vehicles are working at top speed by getting them checked at Reese Auto Service in Lyman so your time having fun doesn't end early. Reese Auto Service, 541 State Highway 413, Lyman.
Oh, welcome back to the My Local Radio Sports Network Homefield Advantage. Aaron Poling joined by Elon Olive and Anthony Colasuno as we went over the Lyman preview in the prior segment. Before we get to Mountain View, we have to thank some of our sponsors because without them, guys, none of this is possible. So I want to send a huge thank you. First Bank of Wyoming, T7 Propane. You also have Stacy's Repair and Reese Auto. So thank you to all of those companies because without you guys, everything that we do, none of it would be possible. We wouldn't be able to get on, a radio show and make fun of one of our closest friends in the world to a group of audience. So without you guys, none of this is possible. So, Anthony, depending on how you feel about the roasting yesterday, you can thank them.
Well, just thank you to our sponsors because, we wouldn't be able to do this possible. We wouldn't be able to cover the teams we cover.
Yeah, I just have to do it out in public like the real jerk.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
All right, getting into the Mountain View segment here. The Buffaloes take on Green River this week as well. Green River is making the trip down to the Bridger Valley as next week it will be flip-flopped, basically. So Mountain View linemen will go down to Green River next week. But this week, some high-stakes matches on the line. We still, on the girls' side, three-way tie between Green River, Lyman, and Mountain View. Mountain View is going to be waiting to see that winner of Green River versus Lyman because the winner of that match will hold fourth place, and then the winner of the Saturday match will create a new tie with the winner of the Friday match. So still a lot of high stakes going on, but the boys standing-wise at the moment, Green River won on Tuesday versus Lander. So right now, the four teams that would get into state, Cody would be the number one out of the West. Green River would be the two.
We're talking about boys or girls right now?
Boys.
Okay.
Boys. Green River would be the two. Lander would be the three, and then a tie between Powell and Mountain View for the fourth seed, as Pinedale and Lyman are not having the greatest seasons on the boys' side. So right now, those five teams will be fighting for the seeds for the state tournament.
So right now, it's not it's not necessary to know, but I'm curious what the tiebreaker would be. And let's say they split head to head. What would that tiebreaker be? I mean, we have to do some research.
We'll do some research, but I'm betting it'll probably go down to overall record and points as a non-conference, or possibly even goal differential, because that's how a lot of European leagues do it by goal differential.
Well, if you're Mountain View this weekend, I mean, I know it's not the Lyman segment anymore, but you're kind of hoping for knock them down, drag them out brawl, because you're getting Green River on a back-to-back, and that is such an advantage just because 80 minutes is tough to play in one day, and then you turn around the next day and you got to do another full 80 against a team that's trying to chase you down in the standings. Like that's a tough draw for Green River, not going to lie. But if you're Mountain View, this is such an opportunity because you're going to get a tired team coming into your home field.
Also, just speaking about it, Green River is close to Lyman.
Yeah.
So they're not staying overnight like how Powell and Cody did. So they're going to be traveling back and forth along I-80. And also, speaking to many coaches, Mountain View's field, they say that grass sticks to the ball. It's a lot harder to kick in. So it creates one of the best home field advantages in the whole entire state.
Well, it's very
Brought to you by my
similar
local
to
radio sports network.
Well, it's very similar to what used to be at Evanston when the boys would play at the Bear Meadows Pond. They were the only team that played on a grass field, and you did see a difference. You did not. There were some teams that that would play well on the turf, but did not fare well when they came over here back when we played at Bear Meadows. So that makes absolute perfect sense that grass creates a situation where, I mean, Mountain View, if you can just win your home games, you're sitting very, very pretty.
Yeah. And they've had really close outings at their home games on both the girls and the boys' side against Powell and Cody a couple weeks ago. Powell and Cody are both teams that play on turf. So those teams struggled on that grass field.
So how does Mountain View play on turf, though? Because when it comes down to it, you're going to be playing the state tournament in Green River where they have the turf fields. How do they fare on turf? Because that's another kind of side of the coin is it's a completely different play style at home because of the grass. How do they do on the road on turf?
So far, the games that I've been to, they're undefeated on turf, basically, at the moment. So right now, it's the best of both worlds for them. But at the same point in time, it depends on the day, the environment, the travel schedule, just all these factors kind of with the NFL. Any given Sunday, a team can beat another team. And that is so real in high school soccer here in Wyoming. One goal could be the difference from a win or a loss, or even that last second goal could be the difference of going to PKs, and then you're fighting for that 3 points in a one-on-one shootout.
Yeah, so I think we should get into why it's such a different game, because I've noticed this too, just going to Green Space last year and covering a game, that grass, it just seems that grass eats the ball. It slows it down, because how many times on a turf field has a player sent the ball down the wing, it looks like a great pass, and on the turf, the ball just keeps spinning and rolling, and then it goes out of bounds across the back line by 6 inches, and it's like, where on grass, that ball gets eaten up about 10 yards probably earlier, and it allows a player to run onto it. So that's kind of the difference in what we're talking about. Also, bounces. Bounces off the turf. If that ball is spinning, you're gonna get the English on the ball, and it's gonna take whatever bounce that it is spinning. Where on the grass, it seems a little bit more true, where it's gonna hop forward. On turf, the ball could bounce backwards on you. I've seen it a bunch of times where the ball is spinning sideways, it hits in the middle of the field, and then just rolls to a wing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
it's a good point, because I mean, that was the one thing that kind of stuck out to me when Evanston was playing at Bear Meadows is they'd play really, really well at home, and then they'd struggle a little bit on the turf because it is more unpredictable. It is. So to hear that Mountain View actually kind of has it I wouldn't say figured out, because we're only halfway through the season, but kind of has it to where they feel like they can get wins on the turf as well as on the grass. I mean, that's a huge advantage for them.
Oh, definitely a huge advantage. And a little bit more in the record breakdown. The girls for Green River 4-2 in the season. The Mountain View girls 3-4, 2-4 in conference. Green River, I believe, is 2-1 in conference on the girls' side. As for the boys, Mountain View 4-3, 3-3 in conference, and Green River 5-1 and 3-0. So a potential to kick one of the teams off of the unbeaten conference mark on the season. And just speaking to this boys team, they are so excited to have their team above 500. After the last couple of years, they've taken some pretty good beatings on the pitch.
Well, yes, last year when you and I went to Green Space and called that Mountain View Lander game, I'm pretty sure, and I called the Pinedale game in Pinedale to end the season, it was very evident that that last year this was a young team that was building towards something. And I think this is the crew that they've got the best chance to get the Mountain View boys to the state tournament for the first time in program history.
Yes.
This is your best chance that you've had yet. And the exciting thing is a lot of them, they're really, really good this year, but a lot of them are going to be back next year.
Yeah, this team only has a couple of seniors, so you're going to be returning Nash Picola next year. You're going to be returning the Harmon boys next year as well. Casey Walker, Coulter Timms, who's been a solid goalie in net for the Buffs, along with Casey Walker, who is a backup, and Coulter only came back last week in their games versus Lyman and Rollins. And just to recap a tiny bit of last week, both teams went 2-0 last week, so that's a huge momentum boost when you want to try to keep that winning streak alive.
Yeah, and going into all the games throughout the rest of the schedule are going to be important when you're trying to race and make it to the state title. But going into your most important game of the season, I would say so far this year, coming into that on fire, feeling good about yourself, winning a couple in a row, that's an advantage. When you're feeling good about yourself, no matter the sport, it sounds silly to say out loud, but that confidence, if you're playing with a lot of confidence, you just make yourself about 5% better of a player. And that could be the difference between, losing a game 2-1 or winning a game 3-2.
Yeah, and that confidence is going to be so huge for both teams, and especially for the boys, beating Lyman 10-0 and then winning against Rollins 3-2. Huge confidence booster, and they're going to get Green River a little bit beaten up, which is going to favor the Buffaloes a lot on both sides of the standings.
Yeah, like I said, rooting for a knockdown, drag-it-out fight. Unfortunately, there's no overtime, but they'd probably be rooting for that too.
Yeah, if there was.
If there's no overtime, at least you're getting a winner, because in 3A they have the shootout.
They have the shootout, yep.
And
I just mean for the sense of running their legs ragged.
Yeah, and especially that stamina is going to be huge, because at Lyman's field, it's a lot more smaller. So you have to run out to the ball quicker. You have to get onto it quicker than at Green Space, where it's a bigger field. So overall, fun soccer ahead for the Bridger Valley. We'll take another break here on Homefield Advantage, sponsored by Jake Major with the Bullock Agency of Wyoming and Bear Lake Memorial Hospital.
Hey there, I'm Jake Major, your local Medicare and insurance benefits advisor for the Bullock Agency of Wyoming. With over 25 years of experience protecting families in rural America, we understand the importance of having affordable insurance coverage. Whether you're searching for extra coverage or looking to understand and switch your Medicare options, I can help you find a range of top-rated insurance companies and tailor-made packages based on your needs. Call me, Jake Major, today at 307-209-4685, and let's discuss your insurance options. We're the Bullock Agency of Wyoming, when benefits matter.
If you've never heard a mechanic say they truly care, then you've been at the wrong place. Stacy's Repair in Woodruff is a family-owned and operated business open since 1992. Offering all types of maintenance and repair services, you can be sure your vehicle is operating at its best. Whether your vehicle is older or the newest model, gas or diesel, we fix and maintain them all. Also offering chip repair, windshield replacement, and tires. When your vehicle needs a mechanic, bring it to the ones who truly care. Stacy's Repair in Woodruff.
Founded in 1938 with the hopes and dreams of serving the Bridger Valley, Benedict's Trading Company was started. Now 85 years and 3 generations later, Benedict's Market is still serving the Bridger Valley by offering the highest quality meats and fresh produce to having fresh baked items and hot deli options. Benedict's Market is your one stop for all of your grocery needs. Benedict's Market offers the best services in a modern setting to make your shopping both quick and easy. Visit them today at 950 North Highway 414, Mountain View, Wyoming.
Life is better in the country. KNYN, Fort Bridger, Evanston, Woodruff, 99.1. The country you want to be in.
Welcome back live into Homefield Advantage, presented by Jake Major with the Bullock Agency of Wyoming and Bear Lake Memorial Hospital. Before we get into our Evanston segment, we'll like to thank a couple more of our sponsors, Benedict's Ace and Benedict's Market, Heritage Auto, and also Station on Main. We couldn't do it without any of y'all's support, and we thank you for supporting us and also supporting high school athletics. And kicking it into the Evanston section,
Ooh,
Aaron
nice pun.
and Elin, take it away.
Nice little pun there. Evanston takes on Star Valley today in what I think is probably been one of the most anticipated matchups between the two Evanston sides for sure since the matchup went down. As the first time these two teams played, girls drew 2-2, boys lost 3-0, and there are different things in both of those games. We'll kind of go over those here in a second, where each of these teams feels good about this opportunity to get Star Valley at home on senior night for sure too.
Yeah, absolutely. And first of all, crazy that it's senior night already.
Yeah.
I mean, that tells you that Evanston's going to go on like a 3-4 week run to end the season on the road.
Oh, yeah. They're not going to be easy road trips. It's Casper, Jackson. You're going to go to Riverton as well.
Yeah.
Rock Springs, that one's relatively easy compared to the others, but still an hour and a half away.
Yeah. But talking about the first time these two teams played, I mean, you and I have talked about it at length off the air. On the girls' side, Evanston should have won that game.
One mistake. It came down to one mistake.
Yeah. And Star Valley was able to take advantage of that mistake. I like what I've seen from Natalie May in the games leading up to this. I think she's going to have a massive game today.
Yeah, she looks far more comfortable than she did in the first game of the year, which, to be fair, for a keeper, it's hard when you're not really practicing on a full-size field. You have to get your angles. The only way to do that is get out on a field. And, the last game that the Red Devils had was against Natrona County. They also played Kelly Walsh. Against Kelly Walsh, she made 24 saves.
Yeah.
Okay, the goals against average isn't going to be very good. Save percentage is going to be a lot better after a game like that where she faced 30 shots. And she's able to come up with 24 saves, and I'd say probably 10 or 12 10-bell saves too. And I don't know if she won't be as busy today. I would be willing to go out on that limb and say that I don't think they're going to allow the Star Valley Braves 30 shots. I don't think the Star Valley Braves are going to think they're going to get 30 shots. But this is going to be a little bit different of a game for her because if you remember back to the first game, felt like Evanston had the ball, at least in the first half, in the Star Valley end for most of it.
It's going to be really fascinating to see how this goes because ever since that game, Evanston has been kind of the team that has to play defense more. The first time they played against Star Valley, though, they were the team that was the aggressors. They had it in their attacking third for the majority of that game, especially in the latter part of this first half. So it's going to be interesting to see how they handle being the hunters instead of the hunted for what we think is going to be the majority of this game. But that being said, Whitney Hale, the goalkeeper for Star Valley,
really good.
She proved she is very good. She made some stops that I think maybe a little bit later in the season they might go in, especially from Kinley Hinsey and JC Bardsley, which I'm expecting Bardsley to kind of open up a little bit more in this game. But you look at that first matchup, and as you mentioned, it was one mistake. I don't think they're making that mistake today.
Yeah, and part of it, too, is they missed net a lot. They scored 2 goals, but they had a lot of opportunity. Remember, Hinsey didn't score in that game.
Yep.
Hinsey had opportunities, which made you kind of feel good about it because she had the ball top of the box, and I think that's about 20 yards closer than all of the open play goals she scored this year where, first game of the year, she gets under it a little bit, it goes over the net. They had opportunities. They had far more opportunities. They have to make it a little bit harder on Whitney Hale today and force her to make saves in those opportunities because if the ball's rolling to Kinley Hinsey at the top of the box, I'm sure the entire Evanston Red Devils team is very comfortable with that situation and very comfortable thinking that they have a real good shot there of getting a goal.
Absolutely. But the other thing is Star Valley's probably going to key in on Hinsey. They're going to key in on Bardsley, which is going to leave Levitt, Bella Dover.
Both of those girls scored against
Both of those girls are the ones that
team,
scored against Star Valley. It's also I think it's going to create some opportunities for Barton as well.
Yeah, so talking with Coach Barton, it's going to be an interesting day just because they're not a 100% healthy team. I talked about this on the broadcast last week. They're not healthy. A lot of their key players have little nicks and bruises and, are, trying to take care of an injury. Kayla Renova, it sounds like she's going to play a little bit because it's senior day, but she has not been the same player. She's very clearly just
Sounds
on the
up.
eye test that she's injured, and Coach Barton gave me a little insight into it. I'm not going to say exactly what the injury is just because it's not fair to Kayla Renova for me to just spout her injury all over the radio. But there's a couple of players that they're just not completely 100%, and it's a bummer for this Red Devils team because I don't know if they've played at 100% since day one.
Yeah.
And another one, Bella Levitt has come off with a calf injury prior games. But she seems to be getting back healthy. And a lot of this, too, we don't talk about this enough, I don't think, is when you have injuries like this, those players can't practice. If you put those players through practice, they're going to make it far worse. They're not going to be able to play. And that's where you build chemistry. So the injury bug is a big thing, especially in soccer. When you're not able to get outdoors real often, you have to take advantage of every chance. And unfortunately, with injuries, this girls' team, I don't know how many times they've practiced at 100%.
Yeah, and that's a bummer because it's one of those deals where I think at 100%, you and I are both picking Evanston win this thing 3-1.
Especially at home.
Yeah, especially at home, especially on senior day. I think with the injuries, it makes it a lot closer than it should be.
Yeah, and we'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
An injury is an opportunity for someone to step up. I expect Emma Davis, who is going to be a game time decision today as well, who replaced Renova is who replaced Ayala Gomez, who replaced Renova in the midfield.
Yeah.
So Davis gets a chance as one of the center backs for this Red Devils team. I thought she handled herself pretty well over the weekend, but with her being sick, that's another monkey wrench thrown into the formation. And, all of these monkey wrenches, it takes players away from probably what their best spot is. Like Julia Barton, we were talking about her.
Yep.
She might have to play a lot of midfield today.
Yeah.
And we saw in that Star Valley game how impactful in her first varsity game ever, how impactful she was to play on that wing. She set up the Dover goal.
Yeah, well, and I think she also had the assist on the 11 goal was
the Dover goal.
The Dover goal. You're right. So I mean, she kind of had her breakout game in Star Valley.
Yeah,
and she's a freshman, so she's got plenty of time. It's going to be so fun to watch her kind of develop throughout.
But
the
she's
years.
only played that wing twice this year. It feels like because of injuries and other
because
situations.
you've had to move her around, and then I think the most important player, though, and you don't want to say there's a most important player in high school sports, but I think if there's a position you're watching, it's going to be Adelie May.
Yeah,
the improvement between game one and now that we've seen. I mean, some of the saves she had against Kelly Walsh, absolutely jaw dropping.
Yeah, ridiculous.
I mean, and she's going to have a game that I think she's much more deserving of today, not being under siege the entire 80 minutes. She's going to have some time to kind of catch her breath. And I expect Evanston to kind of be the aggressors in this game based on what we saw in that first one, though.
Yeah, no, I agree. They carried the play, and it's a real good opportunity. We talked about some of that senior night magic, see if that carries over to the girls. We also have a boys game as well.
Yeah.
That's going to kick off at 5, girls at 3. And the boys, they feel like they owe Star Valley a little bit too. The boys got off to a horrid start in the first game against Star Valley.
3 goals in 10
3 goals
minutes.
in the opening 10, yeah. And then from the rest of the 70, it was 0-0 on the scoreboard. I'm not going to say that the game was perfectly even back and forth, but Evanston got their chances. Star Valley got a couple chances in the second half. But when you go down 3-0, it's an impossible task, it seems like, in the game of soccer.
Well, especially when you go down 3-0 early in the first game of the year, because it makes you question what's going on, what did not work. And the answer to that question is, A, nothing was really going on. Nothing wasn't working. It was just a flat start. That's really all it was.
Bad start.
And now that we've seen what Evanston's able to do against teams like Riverton, how they're able to keep up with teams like Rock Springs and stuff like that, I absolutely agree. I think Evanston feels like they owe them one on their home field. I mean, last year this game in Evanston was an instant classic. Evanston goes down by 1. They end up getting the tying goal. Star Valley goes ahead again. Evanston gets the tying goal in the last minute. Evanston takes the lead in extra time, give up a goal at extra time, and it was a draw. But I think Evanston has felt like for a while that they've owed Star Valley an L.
Yeah, but you also have to take into account Star Valley is going to be a better team than when we
Yes.
first saw them.
Yeah.
We can't just say that, Evanston's better, Star Valley's not, because they've had the practice time. They've played some games. They've gotten better too. But, I mean, for Star Valley coming on the road, it's going to be they have to be ready, because I think if this Evanston team can defend the way they did in the opening 65 against Kelly Walsh, where they held Kelly Walsh, a really good Kelly Walsh team, to one goal that hit a crossbar and hit Jagger coming back to the net and went in, I don't want to say luck, because it does take some skill to hit the crossbar from 30 yards out.
It's unfortunate.
But it took a really bad hop to put Evanston down 1-0.
Yeah.
And if they come out and they defend that way, they're going to put themselves in a good spot to win this game. And don't discredit the Riverton win as having that in the back of their mind. If they can get themselves ahead, they've proven that they can, it may have only been 7 minutes, but they've proven that they can ride it out and salt away a victory.
Well, and the other situation is if you can get the win against Star Valley, you can go get another win against Riverton, and then the journey to try to get out of the bottom to where you would have to play a Jackson or a Kelly Walsh starts right now.
Yes.
You need to get this win today. If you can pull that off, then you shift your focus to definitely going out there and showing Jackson that what they saw the first time was an aberration.
We have to preview that game too.
Yeah,
that's not the fun one to preview. That's why we spent so much time talking about Star Valley.
Short preview of that one. I think Evanston's got. I think they're going to go in there with a chip of their shoulder, be like, "What you saw a few weeks ago is not us.
Yeah,
we are not a team that is 14 goals worse than you."
They'll have to defend better.
Yeah.
And if they can defend better, because that's what really ended up ultimately making that game get way out of hand, is kind of in the second half, the defense went pretty poorly, which, when you're down 12-1, that makes sense. But if they defend better, they've proven that they can come out and they can play a strong game against a team that is of that caliber, like Kelly Walsh. So now it's just the time to do it against Jackson. It's going to be tough because it's going to be on the road in Jackson. Not an easy place to play at all. And once that Avalanche gets rolling, at home, that Avalanche is going to roll. If it can do it on the road, it can do it at home. So if you're the Red Devils, you just got to come out and you got to try to have that same defensive intensity they did against Kelly Walsh. It's going to be hard because it'll be the second game in 3 days, but you have to have that.
Yeah. And I think if you can get a win today, that's going to put your confidence up.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's going to help you out loads against Kelly Walsh.
Yeah.
Or, against Jackson.
But before we get to the Jackson game, we have the Star Valley game tonight. It is senior night at K-Fackrell Stadium. So if you have a senior on the team, please come out and support them. If there's a kid that you've been following, please come out and support them at the field. We love to have you watch on mylocalradio.com. But we'd also love to see you in the crowd cheering these kids on for one last time at K-Fackrell.
Yeah, and we'll have every road game to end the season. All 5 road games in a row to end the season live on mylocalradio.com. Huh?
Why'd you use your big toe to count that?
Sometimes math is not a strong suit.
No, that's why we're broadcasting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We'd be statisticians if we were good at math.
True.
Yeah. But those broadcasts are going to be 2:30. The Kazine's Ace pregame show will start at 2:30, as I'll have that broadcast for you, as the Red Devils will play at 3 and 5 o'clock, K-Fackrell Stadium. It's going to be a lot of fun. Doubleheader coming for Evanston Soccer. And the games on Saturday are 11 and 1 as of right now. So please join us for a fun week of Evanston Soccer as we got to kind of wrap this show up. I'm Aaron Poling. That's Anthony Colasuno and Elon Olaf. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining me in this booth. Until next time, go everybody.